Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Monday as we get ready for some unsettled weather that's going to last into at least the middle part of this week, if not a little bit beyond that. And we had some rain overnight. This is the surface plot from 8 a.m., just so you can see where the radar echoes at least were if you're watching this video later today rather than this morning. But this rain moved through overnight, and there's kind of a break. And then when we look up to the south of us, if this thing is going to respond, but apparently it doesn't want to. Let's see if I can get it to move. Hang on. No, it's not doing it for some reason. Okay, so never mind. But the point is, you can see there's rain down across Virginia, West Virginia, and into Kentucky. And some of this is going to be sliding northeastward, so there'll be some more rain to get into later on today. So let's check out what's going on. And here's the satellite loop of the eastern United States. Actually, it goes out pretty far west, almost to the west coast on this view. And you've got a lot of moisture that's streaming eastward. You can see it here across the Ohio Valley. There's a bit of a twist back in through Oklahoma and Arkansas, so we have an upper air disturbance there. We have the remnants of Beatrice, the tropical storm from the Pacific that moved into the Gulf of Mexico. That tropical moisture is now mostly in the eastern half of the Gulf of Mexico and moving up into Florida. You know, if you didn't know there was a tropical storm out there, you probably wouldn't really. It's not a huge difference. It's not as if we're getting enhanced to 15 and 20-inch rains. It was a mechanism, at least enough, to generate some tropical moisture to get rain into Florida, which over a period of time has been a bit rain-starved, and there are some drought conditions that are at least being alleviated from this moisture. And it's dry across much of the Great Lakes and through the plains, and even in through upstate New York, seeing some dry conditions into northern New England with most of this moisture to the south. We'll go take a look at the west, and let me just refresh this because that's an old loop. And here we go. And you can see in the west, we do have moisture streaming up into the areas from northwest Nevada. It's a little earlier than today. Northwest Nevada, northeastern California, western Oregon, and into Idaho. There were some thunderstorms that were going on there, and we've got a little bit of moisture in the Pacific Northwest. And here's that morning bank of low cloudiness and fog. Actually, you know, it's really cool. If you look at this, you can see that as we get past sunrise, how that fog layer gets eaten away from north to south. You can watch it there. You see how those clouds, the low clouds just kind of sink southward. That's the fog breaking up along the California coast. And then we've got more energy coming in toward the west from offshore. You can see all of this up here to the north is streaming eastward. So let's take a look at what's happening radar-wise. And there's that rain overnight that has moved out of the northeast and the gap. And here comes this is that second surge. Now, I'm not so sure how far north this is going to get. I mean, it may only wind up getting as far north as central New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, central New Jersey, Long Island, New York City, maybe into southern Connecticut, but it may not get much further north than that. There might not actually be some rain that will develop in response to low pressure that's going to form offshore. That rain, by the way, you can see it's just kind of this narrow band here that goes back into Kentucky and into parts of southernmost Illinois and Missouri. And here's your Gulf moisture with some scattered showers and thunderstorms. And we're starting to see some rain and thunderstorms coming in off the Gulf of Mexico and heading up into Florida. And as we go out west, really not too much happening there. Here's that shower and thunderstorm activity from late yesterday and last night has now moved up into northern Montana and going up into Canada. Otherwise, the west coast, for the most part, is pretty dry, although we do see some rain showers off the coast of Southern California. So let's take a look at what we're going to expect for today, and then we're going to look at the upper air because of what's going to be happening as we move forward. Okay, so let's look at the HRRR model. and because that seemed to have a better handle on things this time around for some reason. That is moving out to the east. So there's that rain from overnight. And here's that second area. And you can see what the model just kind of brings it up to central New Jersey and touching Long Island. I'm going to allow for the possibility that it could get a little further north. But this will be, a period of rain. Some areas could wind up with a half an inch to an inch out of it, but there's going to be a lot of variation. There'll be some areas that will get very little, especially on the northern end. And you can see, there's an area of rain and heavy rain and thunderstorms that the model develops in the Hudson Valley. There's low pressures forming along the Delaware coast, so there's a bit of an upper air feature here at play on the northern end. So you get to see this development to the north tonight. That'll impact the northern half of Connecticut and parts of the Hudson Valley north of 84 and even into northern New Jersey, if this is the correct view. Now, ultimately, that low is going to organize and take things out. I'm going to go to the RGEM model, the Canadian model, because that also has been doing a lot better than the NAM, in my opinion. And there's that low offshore. Now, during the night, there's going to be some residual rains left along the coast. You can see it here and into New England. They gradually diminish later tomorrow into tomorrow night. There's still some rain to contend with during the day tomorrow, and it's going to vary. Some places it'll be light rain and drizzle, and others there might be some heavier downpours, but then that starts to dry out so that by Wednesday things will improve in terms of the rainfall, that it should be just more scattered in nature and widely scattered at that, and other than some light rain or drizzle, it's just going to be cloudy here in the Northeast. We're going to have to deal with that for a while, and I'm particularly concerned about Wednesday because I'm going fishing up here with some buddies up in Litchfield County for the day, and I don't mind if it's cloudy, and I don't mind if there's like a little bit of light rain or drizzle. I don't want a soaking rain, and it looks like I'm going to luck out from that respect. Now let's go to the upper air, because one of you posted a question with regards to that and says, well, why do I look at the upper air? Because we look at the upper air because the upper air gives us a much cleaner view of what the weather pattern is going forward. When you understand what the jet stream positions are and what they mean, you get a real picture of where the weather is going in a general sense. And you need to understand that, because once you understand that part of the process, then when you can look at the surface map and you see what's going on, it makes much more sense. It's also, we look at the upper air because things are a little smoother. We can see areas of energy troughs that are going to be swinging down and around, that are going to impact us and view their strength in the upper atmosphere, because that again will translate to what's on the surface. We can also see the strength of ridges and high pressure aloft, which is going to tell us about when the weather is going to be reasonable. And it's very important. It's more important to actually look at the upper air structure, and then you start to deal with the surface, because the surface map really, that's going to be your day-to-day, your actual, real-time current conditions sort of picture. You're going to look at that, and your short-range forecast, your very short-range forecast, you'll look more at that. But if you don't understand what's going on aloft, then it becomes a problem. And what's going on aloft is that we have this trough in the east, and you can see how the upper air trough cuts off. There's this upper air low that's sitting in western Pennsylvania. This is Wednesday night, and as long as this is here, this is creating issues with regards to clouds in the northeast. And in the meantime, we have this nice ridge building up in the west in the Rockies and on up into Canada. So that is going to mean for relatively calm weather in that part of the country. And also we see a strong upper low in the Gulf of Alaska with a trough off the west coast. Here's our system in the east, and you can see the flow from Canada is there. The jet stream's suppressed again pretty far to the south, which this time of year is problematic. Now, what is going to happen in the long term? And we talked about this yesterday. Eventually, that upper low is going to lift out. There's one more piece that's coming down in this jet stream from Canada that's going to bring a little energy through the Northeast Friday night and Saturday, maybe in the form of a couple of showers. But over time through next weekend, notice deep trough forms in the west, big ridge pops up in the east. And one of the things that the GFS is doing that today that it's not doing today that it did yesterday was that it wanted to leave part of this trough behind and make a bit of a cutoff low off the mid-Atlantic coast, which might create some issues regarding next week in terms of clouds and how warm it would get. But the European didn't have that, and the GFS now agrees. It's a big ridge here in the east, so this is going to mean for summertime heat, maybe not so much on Sunday, but it may start to turn rather warm next Sunday. And then next week, Monday, Tuesday, and I would say at least into Wednesday, we're going to be dealing with temperatures that'll probably be up around or over 90 through much of the Northeast, particularly southern areas of the Northeast, and down through the mid-Atlantic states. And you know what? This happens. It's June. It's mid-June. You know, we've been saying how, you know, the atmosphere does tend to flip a switch around the middle part of June. And, you know, that's doing it almost right on time because we're talking about June 12th, 13th, and 14th here. Now, after that, it becomes a little difficult to kind of figure out where this is going to go. There's probably going to be some kind of front that comes through here along about Thursday. I don't know how strong it's going to be and how much cool air there will be behind it. The jet stream is looking like it wants to do its usual retreat up into Canada at this time. At this point, as we go through the end of the period, you can see it here. There's pretty much almost a ruler flow now across from west to east, and we're sort of on the edge of this. Okay. So that's probably going to mean that there's going to be some cooler air, relatively cooler air, not that far away. On the other hand, there's going to be some very warm to hot air, not that far away, and we're going to be in this sort of delicate balance as we go into the second half of the month. Looks like the pattern is changing a bit. I just want to take a look real fast. We'll take a look at the European's upper air because, you know, let's see if we get any kind of a different picture. You know, it's pretty much the same idea here, of course. See this trough in the east? Here it is. This is Thursday. It doesn't, you know, the European leaves a very small piece behind in the southeast. I don't think it's enough to have an impact, but the bottom line is that the European is, you know, kind of like the GFS. There's your deep trough in the west, ridge building in the east. You know, there's no blocking of any kind, really. So there's no reason for it not to get hot for at least a day or two. So we're talking Monday, Tuesday, and actually the European would suggest that it may only be for 2 days, and that Wednesday you start to get maybe a little bit of a cool front that comes through here during Wednesday. So we'll have to see if that's, you know, models are timing it out. At that point, we're at day 10 of the long range, so, you know, we're in sort of fantasy land. Okay, so let's take a look really fast. I'll do the severe weather. Let's go to the day one outlook. And, you know, here we have it for today. We've got this marginal risk of severe weather across Pennsylvania and up into New York State, touching northwest New Jersey and northern areas of the Hudson Valley, extending southwest into Kentucky and West Virginia. And then another area of marginal risk across southern Virginia, North and South Carolina. Slight risk in South Texas in the coastal bend, with marginal risk back inland. And you have this stripe of marginal risk from eastern New Mexico all the way up into the western Dakotas, eastern Montana, and eastern Wyoming. And that's for today. And for tomorrow, we see, you know, a little bit of marginal risk over much of Florida except the south, and that stripe that goes up from West Texas and eastern New Mexico into eastern Colorado and Nebraska. So, you know, we're getting to the point now in severe weather season where these widespread outbreaks are diminishing, as, you know, we don't see these big storms, these big areas of low pressure coming out anymore. We're going to start to see this become much more localized as we move through time. And severe weather will tend to shift northward now up into our area, up into the northeastern part of the United States as we get into the second half of June and July in particular, and then eventually into early August. Sort of make the transformation in the character of thunderstorms, where they go from producing the potential for severe weather, which if you see that usually in June and July, to ones that produce very heavy rains and flash floods, and that happens usually with thunderstorms that you see around in the Northeast in August and September. All right, folks, let's end it right here. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit the little red subscribe button. It's absolutely free. And you can also check all the latest website posts at meteorologistjoechaffee.com, Angry Ben on nycweathernow.com. And on those websites, you can also access to download my app and subscribe to my forecast, which is just $1 a month for New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, Hudson Valley, and Eastern Pennsylvania. Have a great Monday.